It's great that you got your first sale, but listen, what about next month and the month after? It's about pipeline. You got to have a pipeline in place. Most agents, period, not just new agents, they don't understand the benchmarks behind what their pipeline needs to look like to produce a certain number of sales. It's real simple math. I told you I was good at math, and I'm really good at simple math.
Hi, everybody. This is Joseluiz Morales. Welcome back to the Morales Group Show. This is episode number 79. Today, we've got a very special guest. His name is Ricky Carruth. He's a real estate agent. He's a real estate mentor and somebody that has given a lot back to the community. Welcome to the show, Ricky. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to just start off by asking, who is Ricky Carruth and how did you stumble upon the real estate market?
Nah, it's a very good question, man. And really at heart, I'm just like an entrepreneur, right? I just love to build businesses and I love to help people, right? And so in today's world, the future of business, right? The future of business models, in my opinion, are where everyone wins, not just a corporation or not just a coach or not just one entity, but the everyone wins. Okay. That's the future of business. And we're going to see it more and more and more as we have more free coaches and people giving more free value and companies who give away free equity, so on and so forth. So we're going to see more and more of that. The way I got into real estate was I was in college. I went to 4 different colleges in 2 years and failed a history class. And I basically just gave up on college because I just felt like I didn't see the point in it myself. And I wasn't really good at school at that point. I was really all A's and B's in high school. I made like 1 C in all of high school, but I was sleeping because I had my head on my desk. And, the teacher's always like, wake up, Ricky type thing. But I was like half asleep, but I could hear everything. And it was just, high school was easy. You get into college and it's not easy. Like you really have to study and you really have to put forth a lot of effort. And it's not that I didn't want to put forth effort. I just wasn't interested in history. I just wasn't interested in the very depths of literature I loved math. I was good at math. I'm still good at math. Like surface level math. I'm really good on calculating certain things in my head quickly and stuff like that. But when it gets into like the deepness of algebra and all like going all the way in there with all that stuff, just not interesting to me. It's just kind of like, thanks, but no thanks, right? Much respect to people who do go to college, who graduate. If you graduate college, you are a beast. I'm telling you right now, because I went to 4 different colleges in 2 years. And I was not cut out for that. I realized that I could get my real estate license with 1 class, right? Not even a full semester, just 1 class. Okay. And I could have the same opportunities as doctors and lawyers who went to school for 10 years. Like, sign me up for that one, right? I want to take that class, the 1 class, and then you have the same opportunities as doctors and lawyers. Sign me up for that one. So I did it. When I took the class, I realized, well, once I take the class, I have to take a test within a year. Then I have 90 days to find a broker. And I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this. Like, this is way too much commitment. Like, I don't know what I got myself into here. At the end of the day, I passed the class barely. Okay. Barely, because I was following widespread panic around the country during that time. So I don't even know how I passed that class. Went back home and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, Dad. He's like, well, come roofing with me, son. Well, you can just roof with me if you want to. I did that for 3 days and I was like, Dad, I think I'm going to try to take this test and be a real estate agent. I don't want to do roofs forever, even though I loved roofing. Like, I honestly did. I grew up in the business. My dad had a business for 30 years. I watched him roof growing up. He had me and my brother on the roof when we were 12 years old, cleaning up the job sites and stuff. I was laying shingles when I was 15. Loved roofing, right? But I knew that physically I wasn't going to be able to do that forever. And also, there's a guy I heard of that's a billionaire roofer, right? He actually died on a roof. He's a billionaire. Like, he was on his own roof, roofing. He fell through and died, but he actually became a billionaire because he was a roofer for so long, but then he opened up these roofing shops, where they sell shingles and metal and roofing supplies. He was a roofing supply, shop owner. And then he opened up different franchises and became a billionaire roofer. So it can be done. You can accomplish those financial goals with anything, of course, but what are the chances that you're going to become a billionaire roofer versus a billionaire real estate agent / investor / entrepreneur? I just started moving in that direction. And then comes the journey of actually selling a house and learning how to become a real estate agent and, the journey that I've been through there. So Yeah, it's been a roller coaster.
I wanted to ask you, I mean, were you like an instant superstar? Because I know at some point you were the #1 agent for ReMax in Alabama, which is it's a big obviously accomplishment. But were you like an instant success, like, hey, look, I just got in and started selling hundreds of homes? Or did it challenge you to get to being coming at some point the #1 agent in Alabama?
In my mind, I was, right. In my mind, I was, the top agent around there, right? And that's how you have to think. And then once you can actually visualize yourself as the top agent, then you have to understand that it's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to take you many, many years and a lot of patience, a lot of frustration, a lot of disappointments along the way. So I got in. It took me 8 months to make my first sale.
6 months.
Yeah,
Here, so right
yeah,
around.
yeah. Well, everybody's the same. Like you talk to anybody, and the average is 6 months for people who actually make it in the business. 90% of people don't make it. The people who do, the average is 6 months. And that's been true for decades. Even with technology, the run of technology lately in the past 5, 10 years, that hasn't changed the learning curve of an agent and how fast it takes you to get to your first deal. There may be a minuscule difference. Like maybe the average used to be 6.5 months and now it's 6.2 months or something like that. But it's still a long time, no matter how you slice it up. The learning curve and how long it takes you to get to your first sale is still the same. There's people that come in and sell in 1 month, sell one property. That's dangerous, by the way, because then they kind of have this false sense of security. I see that all the time. They'll sell something quick and then they just crash and burn for the next 4 or 5 months and quit.
I was the guy that took 6 months. 3 other people got their sale in the first month. They got this like, oh my God, I've got this thing figured out. And then the reality was that they didn't. They thought it was going to be easy just because they got the sale in 1 month.
Quite often. And what I try to do with those agents is let them know the reality of that situation. Listen, it's great that you got your first sale, but listen, what about next month and the month after? It's about pipeline. You got to have a pipeline in place. Most agents, period, not just new agents, they don't understand the benchmarks behind what their pipeline needs to look like to produce a certain number of sales. It's real simple math. I told you I was good at math, and I'm really good at simple math. If you talk to most agents and you say, okay, how many active buyers and sellers are you working with? The most common answer is 4. And that's just my research, like me asking agents. The most common answer I get is 4. Statistically speaking, that's no deals. Right? That's 0.8 deals. That's 0. I've always had 25 plus, right? Active buyers and sellers. And I've always closed 2 a week since 2014, 2 a week, 2 a week, 2 a week. If I want 1 a week, I'm going to have 15 to 20 buyers or sellers actively in my pipeline. Whereas I'm working that list, it's separated from my database. If they go ghost, if they tell me they're not interested anymore, if they go with another agent, if they move forward with me, they're off that list. I'm talking about prospects that haven't done anything yet that are actively looking to do something, right? And so that number has to be maintained. If you go below the 15, you're going to go below your 1 a week that you want to close. It's just really, really, really simple math. Back to your question, it took me 8 months to make my first sale. It was back in the early 2000s when the market exploded. I made $1 million quickly and then lost it all in the crash, went bankrupt, went back to roofing houses, worked on an oil rig for a while, read 100 books, came back into real estate in 2008. And then from 2008 to 2014, I worked 15 hours a day to get to 100 deals a year. So I'm just single agent, one assistant, always have been. So understand the timeline, right? Get in, make my first sale in 8 months, make a meal, lose it, get back in. And then after everything I learned through all that, still took me 6 years of 15 hours a day to get to 100 deals. 6 years. And agents are coming in complaining to me when they're 4 months in, 2 years in, right? And they haven't sold 50 deals yet or 20 deals yet or 100 deals yet or whatever. And it's like, dude, listen, like I made a meal, lost it. The lessons I learned from that, took that, and then using the lessons I learned, it took me another 6 years of 15 hours a day to get to 100 deals a year. And everybody wants everything year number one when they don't realize year one is like, chalk that up, throw that away. That doesn't mean nothing, man. That year one is learning how to do a contract, learn how to talk to people, learn how to do MLS, learn how to listing, learning the process of a transaction, learn how to build a database, putting your systems in place. All those things are worth millions and millions of dollars to you. And all you're looking at is the 39,000 you made and saying you're a loser. Bro, you're the top 10% of real estate agents who made it through your first year with a paycheck. And you're able to now take the foundation you built and really crush it for a 6-figure year in your second year. It's nuts.
You mind me asking? Because I think a lot of times people can lose from other people's lessons. Like for me, I feel like I was lucky enough, Ricky, where I got into the business in 2010. So I saw the struggles of what people were going through right after the
Yeah.
market crash. And I
Yeah.
didn't get to experience it myself, which I'm glad that I didn't, but I got to see everybody else around me. And that always stuck in my head. I'm like, I don't ever want to be in that position where I put my family through something like that. What lessons did you learn losing that $1 million? Or what would you, looking back at it now, I know you wouldn't have done it differently just because obviously it's a lesson, but what advice would you give to somebody that maybe that you wouldn't do again in that situation?
Well, I mean, listen, I was in a very interesting market to say the least, right? Things were similar to the market we were just in, where things were at the prices were escalating so much so quickly. But the big difference was lending, right? So back then they were doing no doc lending.
Yeah.
You could just say you were making $1 million a year and they believed you for no reason, right? No reason. They didn't have to, you have to prove anything, you have to do anything. So they're literally like when like nowadays when they say they're giving money away because interest rates are so low, no, they were literally giving money away like for no reason. Like you didn't even have to have a job and you could just say you had a job or whatever. They wouldn't even check. And then they have their buddy appraisers go out there and appraise it for 200,000 more than it's worth just to make sure the deal goes through. And here you are getting stuck with the loan on a bad value that was escalated by corruption in my mind through the system, right? And that's why they cracked down and put all the lending regulations on appraisers and the scrutiny behind approvals and all the you have to give your right arm now, you have to give blood and stuff to get a loan these days compared to what it was back then, and that's for good reason, right? So that we don't end up in this mess again. And I love the fact that we went that direction because now we just had a crazy rise in prices, just like we saw back in 2003 and 4. But you know what else we didn't see? We didn't see a crash and burn. I mean, it's too early to say that. We're still kind of leveling off from that. So it's too early to say we haven't seen a crash and burn. But however, I feel like this is a much more solid market, okay, because of the fact that these buyers are end users. Okay, these buyers are highly qualified, that banks have used the new lending regulations to make sure that they can actually afford these houses long term, and that they've proven the income. They know that these people make this money. It just makes for a much solid market. That's not to say we don't see a downturn and we don't see a 10-20% decrease in prices. That, I mean, anything can happen, and absolutely. But what we saw back then? We saw 50% decreases. We saw 60% decreases. I mean, we've probably seen more than that in certain areas. I don't see that happening, on top of the fact that, investors and just people in general have much more. I think we are at all-time high as far as like how much actual cash people have on hand. I don't know if we're at an all-time high. I think we're at an all-time high of people who are just sitting on cash, which means what? There's cushion in the market. If prices go down, what's that cash going to do? Buy those good deals, buy those good stocks, buy those good houses for cheaper prices. And that's going to make the market level out a lot higher than it would have if there's, say, no cash out there, or if people really couldn't afford the houses they're buying, so on and so forth. So
would you say that the lesson was that people were more speculative, meaning that they didn't care if the property produced enough cash flow?
Exactly.
Because the reality was that if they bought today and they held it for a year, the market was $200,000 more. And as long as the market kept increasing, everybody was happy. But when the market started decreasing, like they ended up with properties that were unsustainable, meaning they didn't produce enough cash flow to basically produce. So I think the lesson there for our viewers would be that if you're going to get into real estate investing and you're going to hold properties, make sure that you're not just buying on speculation, like thinking, hey, the market's going to go up forever, but that the asset can produce enough income to basically sustain itself. So walk us through like your journey. Like, what did you do to become the number one agent during those 6 years of working 15 hours a day? Because I'm sure there's a lot of viewers out there that look at somebody like you, obviously have aspirations to become, but a lot of times they don't know what it actually takes to become that. And then at the end of is it as sexy as people make it? Because we were for ReMax the number 17 team in California as well too. But it's not easy, you know. It's not something that was like just, hey, look, there was a lot of sacrifice there. So can you walk us through that?
I mean, really early in my career, I realized that property owners were the best prospects, right? They're your best buyers. Okay. They're the most educated. You know, they know what they want. They just need someone to help them, you know, get the job done, you know, help them do what they're trying to do. And that's how I've sold so much property in my career, is because when I did lose everything and came back, I realized that back then, the one reason I lost everything is because I was so focused on just the deal and just getting deals done. I was not trying to get to know people. I lost myself in there somewhere, you know, because I started out in real estate wanting to help people. But, you know, when you start to get the money, you see how easy it is. The market was very easy at that time. I mean, it was super easy. They weren't really trying to get to know me either, because those sellers were selling and making 200,000, and they weren't going to rebuy in that same market that they just, you know, bought for 200,000 less and made 200,000. They're going to sit that one out. They were smart enough. Well, so they didn't have anything to talk to me about either. So, you know, it was both sides. You know, they weren't trying to get to know me. I wasn't trying to get to know them. I was just going to look for somebody else that wanted to make 200,000. And so what I realized was that one of the reasons why I lost everything in terms of sales was because I wasn't creating relationships and building my brand. That was the reason I lost, because at the end of the day, one of the big aha moments was when I looked through the market, you know, right as I was starting to get back into the business and try to do the research and try to figure out where I went wrong. I was studying the market. I was looking at MLS, and I was, you know, just looking at the different agent sales. How much did they sell during this down moment? Like 2007 was our worst year in terms of transactions. I was looking at the agents who were actually selling 20, 30, 40 properties during those years, and what are they doing? What kind of properties are they selling? What I realized was that, you know, 2000, let's say 5 to 2000, you know, 10, that was the worst real estate crash, you know, we've seen in our lifetime.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, surely there's, you know, bigger crashes ever in history. Who knows? I don't know. What I realized was during the worst crash ever, closings were still happening every day by the truckloads.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that gave me this aha moment. I started to realize a few things, and then I had to sit down and think about that for a second. Okay. I mean, this is like, wait a minute. Like it's like you're digging for gold. You know, you're chipping away at the mountain, chipping away, you know, for days and days and days. And then boom, you hit a little piece of gold and you see a little glimmer in there, you know, around the dirt. And you're like, wait a minute, you know, I think I finally hit something here. And it's, and realizing that was that moment where I hit gold for a second. And I was like, well, let me pull back a little more dirt here and see how big this nugget is. And so as I'm pulling it back, I'm realizing, well, wait a minute. How many closings are happening every day? A bunch, a bunch. In the worst of times, a bunch of closings, right? And not only just closings in MLS, which means what? They're being facilitated by real estate agents. Let me just pull back a little more. Okay. Wait a minute. Out of those truckloads of closings that are happening, okay, let's multiply them by 2.
There's 2 agents.
There's a buyer and there's a seller. Okay, multiply those closings by 2. And what do you have? That's how many opportunities you have every single day in your market.
Yeah.
So there's not a market out there in the world that you could pull up and show me that there's been 0 closings in a day. Like, you show me a market that had 0 closings in a day, you're not going to find it. Go back for the rest of your life and find me a day through 9/11, .com crash, the stock market crash 2008, the pandemic, one of the scariest moments in the last 100 years. 80% of the same amount of closings. Okay. Well, those were under contract before the shutdown. Okay. What about this? 80% of the same amount of pending deals, right? 80% of the same amount of pending deals that went pending during that shutdown, complete shutdown, mid-April to May 1st. 80% of the same amount of pending deals as it was that same 45-day period the year prior. Okay. And then the market explodes after that. Okay. And it's been on a tear ever since. And now we're finally starting to, where it's finally starting to slow down a little bit and take a breather from that huge run that we've been on. When you understand the market and the cycles, and you get behind the fact that okay, you've got to get out of this number one scarcity and competition mindset, but also that the market has anything to do with your success. People are worried like, oh, when the market's great, I'm going to do great. But when it crashes, oh no, that's not true. Okay. That's not true at all because closings continue to happen every day. What happens? Prices adjust. Why do they adjust? Well, they have to adjust to a place where people are still willing to buy. What does that mean? People are still willing to buy. And so there's always people buying and there's always people selling. There's people that have to sell. There's people that want to sell. There's whatever. It's happening. Sorry, guys, it's happening. You can't use the market as an excuse, right? It's just, you can't. And so when you realize all that, okay, I'm just taking you through the mindset of what I had to realize before I could actually build the foundation correctly. When I realized, okay, closings happen every day, blah, 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 and then I realized, well, okay, well, how do I become the agent of all these closings, right? If you ask a buyer or seller at the end of a closing, how they pick their agent, right? What do you think the top answer is?
A friend, referral, a friend, somebody was recommended to me.
They had a friend in the business.
Yeah, agreed.
So now that's the number one by far. Okay, by far. Like there's not a close second. That one's like 35%. Everything else is 1%. All the other reasons.
Agree, 100%.
So if that is a fact, and it is, our job as a real estate agent is not to sell property.
Build more relationships. Our
job is to create friends in the market. Period. And so if we're friends with the most people in the market, if we're friends with more people than any other agent in the market. And when I say friends, that can mean many things. It could be an accumulation of conversations you had where you created great first impressions, followed by some kind of marketing where they never forget who you are, never forget that great first impression. Mm-hmm. Right. I utilize a weekly email. They never forget who I am. It's great high organic reach. And they never forget that great first impression, that great first conversation we had. And now they're getting this weekly email that I create customly. So they know that I'm working hard and I'm out here and I'm a nice guy and I'm selling a lot of property and they love me and they want to do business with me. And I can scale that. When you learn how to scale your personality, where you can make friends and scale that activity, where you can just build all these friendships and they never forget who you are, that's when you're going to start winning. That's what I had to do. I realized all that. And I started having different conversations when I got back in the business with prospects. And you could tell, man, like they talked to me like I was family. I cared about them like they were family. It was totally different conversations. I knew that these were long-term relationships that were going to produce multitude of deals and referrals. That's how I started building my business. I started trying to accumulate people in my market. Started doing a weekly email in 2007. Still do it today, every Wednesday since 2007. And at this point in my career, it's the only thing I do. I quit building my business, making calls, hustle and bustle in 2017. That was the first year I made $1 million. And I've hit $1 million ever since, just from the weekly email. Because once you build your database up to the level of income you want, you can stop building your database. You can live off the database and maintain that level of income. As a new agent, when you're going, you should be like 4 and 5xing your income every year as a new agent, because you're in that growth spurt period. So you should be like going from 20,000 to 80,000 to 200,000 to 450. Whatever your ambition level is. But then everybody's going to hit that level off point. Maybe it's 150 for some agents. Maybe it's 250. Maybe it's 500. And you kind of hit that period where you kind of start leveling off a little bit, where you got too busy to prospect anymore. So now you just kind of level off because your database isn't growing anymore. Your database has to grow or your income's not going to grow until you get to the level you want. Then you can stop growing your database and it levels off. Then I stopped at $1 million. As a new agent, it doesn't matter. Like once you plateau, the market crashing could fluctuate your income a little bit because you've plateaued and you're not trying to grow anymore. You got the same clients, you're doing the same stuff. But when you're in that growth spurt period, hell, the market could crash and burn and do all this stuff. It's not going to affect your income too much because you're growing by 4 and 5x every year for a couple of years till you get to your plateau point. But back to your question, because I still haven't answered it. I realized in the very early going that property owners were the highest quality prospects, because they not only is a possibility to list, which a listing is that's that multiplies agents' time more than anything in the business, but also they're the best buyers. So why would I go after any other clients? Okay. So those 15 hours a day for 6 years was literally me looking up at like copying and pasting addresses of property owners I wanted to talk to into Bigfoot.com, whitepages.com, Spokio. And I'm literally like reverse looking up addresses, copying and pasting all night. So I would do this all night till like midnight. At 9 o'clock, I would start calling all the numbers I looked up the night before. And so it would take me a whole day to dial 100 numbers. So I was looking up 100 all night, and I was dialing those 100 all day the next day. I would do the same thing every day. I would show proper, I would meet clients or whatever in between and go to listing appointments. I would handwrite some letters. I was doing direct mail, stuff like that. But my main activity was look up numbers all night, call them all day. Now, in today's world, bro, after I built my business, here comes Mojo, here comes RedX, here comes Vulcan, here comes Espresso, here comes all these great technology companies that allow agents to do what took me from 5 o'clock to midnight in literally 2 minutes.
Even virtual assistants now, like that can do the same thing basically.
But you can literally, like with RedX, you can just go click, and boom, pick a neighborhood and bam, boom, you got all the property owners right there. And it's better data than we used to have because this cell phones are mixed in there. It's better data than I used to get. So better data in a split second, and then use an auto dialer to Machine Gun Kelly, bro. Just you just call it's like one of the like it's incredible. Like I used to dial with my hand and look up numbers, reverse look up, right? And so like those 15 hours a day for 6 years, literally what took me those 15 hours, agents can now do in 2 hours. Yeah. You can do the same damage that Ricky Carruth did all day long and all night in 2 hours and still have, 6 hours, 4 hours, 7 hours, however long you work to go do even more damage. Right? And real estate agents, you guys don't even understand like the power and how good of a situation you're in. And like, it's funny because like hardly any of them use this technology. Right.
But what I was going to tell you is obviously I agree with you. It was funny because we have a new agent on our team. He's over here just dialing random people, not building relationships. And I show him our lead sources. And I say, look, 45% of our business comes from our database, just so you know that. Like almost for every 2 people, 1 out of every 2 people. But I almost saw like a light bulb go on. So I'm glad that you're elaborating on that. The other
thing, the same thing though, right? Here's the thing. Before you get into the next question, you've got to hit both. The agents that exponentially grow, yes, they take those database deals, but they're also going after new people to get into that database to make that database bigger so that the database produces more deals. See, most agents either work the database or they just work new people and they don't have a database. They just kind of like talk to you if you want to do something good. They're not going to stay in touch. They just work like the new clients. And then you got some people that just work the database. Very few work both angles and collect that data, put it in the database and work it to build a personal brand. Those are the agents that you see that exponentially grow year over year because they're accumulating. Yeah. They're accumulating clients.
No, and I agree with you 100% on that. The other thing I was going to touch on is you mentioned that for you was a big aha for people to realize that in good markets or bad markets, there were still sales going on. I remember I used to get people telling me that it was risky to get into real estate because the market could crash. But I think the part that they didn't understand is even if the market crashes, people are still buying, people are still selling. You just have to make some adjustments and be versatile, basically. And it's the good agents that are able to make those adjustments that basically thrive in any marketplace. So let me ask you this, as it came to building relationships, I know obviously you built the email. Would you reach out to them at all? Like make phone calls to them? What would that look like? Like if I wanted to build a relationship with somebody that I just cold called, and they don't know who I am, what advice would you give to somebody in that situation?
So you're saying like not the follow up once they get the email, but the cold call to start the relationship?
Yeah, let's just say that you find out that the person's like a local attorney in town. They're an estate attorney.
Listen, it all comes back to the same thing, right? So we want to build friendships. Okay. So number one, you've got to be a good communicator. You've got to be a good friendship creator. Some people are good at that and some people aren't. I think part of it comes from enthusiasm, being excited, not like being overbearingly excited, and just yelling at them and stuff like that, but like, being, happy yourself and excited yourself. I mean, that draws people in. is your energy, right? So like that's part of it, is like a lot of people, they don't have a lot of good results on the phone and stuff, is because they're boring. They're monotone and they're reading a script, and you can tell, and they're nervous and they're just boring. You know what I mean? Have fun with it. Number one, if you're having fun, they're going to have fun. That's the number one thing. And like, even when you're having fun and you run into people who cuss you out and get mad at you and hang up and stuff like that, that's okay. Laugh it off and keep going. We're building a business here. You're going to ruffle a few feathers. It's part of the gig. Believe it or not, this is what you signed up for, but you're always looking for excuses to call people, so, and there's always an excuse to call anyone, no matter if it's a good excuse or bad excuse. If you're talking about an estate attorney, you call them up and say, hey, Mr. Morales, how you doing? Hey, I'm Ricky Carruth, the EXP Realty here at Gulf Shores. How you doing? Are you enjoying the day? Yeah, I'm enjoying the day, man. It's gorgeous outside. Listen, man, I don't want to take it too much of your time. I'm a local agent. You're an estate attorney. Okay. We could actually do some business together. What can I do to help you? It's always good to be like upfront and frank with people. It's
add value. You're looking to
yes. And it's just like, I'm not calling him to say, hey, how do I get on your list to get pre-foreclosures or people that dies houses listed or whatever it is we're trying to do with this person. I'm just saying, listen, I'm a hardworking agent here locally. Just so you know, I'm here for you, right? I'm here to service you. I'm here to service the rest of the community. Is there anything we can do to work together? I'd love to do business. Mm-hmm. Right. Here's the punchline. Okay. Volume. We need to talk to, 10, 20, 30 people every day. Mr. Morales, who is the estate lawyer around town, he may already have a favorite agent that he sends all his business to that's going to get really upset with him if he starts sending his business to Ricky. There's a good chance you're not going to get that business if that's the case, even for right now anyway, until that agent messes up or that agent retires. And then they think, oh, Ricky might be a close second place. See, that's the thing too. People think that just because you don't get the deal then means that it's dead. Yeah. You're planting a seed. When that agent that's in place retires, but you picked up their data, you send them a weekly email, they see your signs around town, they see you doing all the self-promotion in your weekly email that you selling stuff and stuff, and here's all the stats, and here's great information, here's some breaking news in the area, and here's great restaurants, and they see you putting in work. If something happens, you're going to be their number two. Now you're the number one. You got to plant the seeds. People think, oh, make the calls and I'm going to see rose bushes. Like they throw the seeds at the ground, right? And they like chunk them and it hits the ground really hard. It doesn't even hit soil. Like they're hitting concrete with the seeds and they expect there to be a rose bush right there, right then. And sometimes you got to throw them seeds ever so lightly right into the soil and push them down just a little bit with your finger, ever so gently, right? And give them a little time to develop.
Not only that, but like, I think that people expect everything now. Like we live in a society where everything is instant,
That's what I'm saying. People want to throw a seed, right? And they don't even throw it right. And they expect it to become a rose bush, an entire rose bush garden before it hits the ground.
They want stuff instant. They want Grubhub. They want Uber, everything on the spot.
And that's why 90% of agents fail, man. Right there.
100%. So let's say that somebody maybe doesn't have like a bubbly personality. Let's say that somebody isn't like a friendship creator. What advice would you give to those people? I mean, if they're not like good at building relationships or they're not a good communicator. I know when I got started, I was not a good communicator.
Step one is to realize that this is what you got into a communication business.
Yeah. Agree.
Okay. So you signed up to talk to people you don't know and help them buy and sell real estate. Mm-hmm. So don't sit here and tell me that you're not good at talking to people you don't know to help them buy and sell real estate, because that is literally your job. You have to make a decision at that point. Am I actually going to do this job or not? Because if I'm going to do this job, I'm going to have to get good at talking to people I don't know and help them buy and sell real estate. That's your job. That's what you signed up for, whether you want to think that or not. Listen, I don't care where you get your leads from. Okay. You can use Zillow. You can do Facebook, you can do open houses, direct mail, whatever. Okay. At the end of the day, there's not going to be a deal done until you talk to them. Real life conversation is the nucleus of all closings. Okay. You got the nucleus, which is the conversation. And then on the outskirts, you got all the lead generation sources. You got circle prospecting, expires, for sale by owners, Facebook, Zillow, all this stuff is right up here. But what's the first thing you got to do when you get a Zillow lead? The very first thing, as quick as you can. This is what they tell you. As quick as you can, as soon as you get the Zillow lead, you got to pick up the phone and you have to call them. You have to, or you're going to lose the deal to another agent, or they're going to go somewhere else. Well, I'm going to text them. Okay. Well, another agent is calling them right now, and they're actually going to talk to them about what they want to do, create that instant relationship, and help them do what they're trying to do. You're going to lose the deal texting people, right? What was the question?
It just, what advice would you give to somebody if they're not a good communicator? Is that something?
Yeah, no. You got to understand that is what you got to understand, that that's the nucleus. And so you got to understand this is what you got into the business for. And you got to make a decision. I'm going to learn how to do this. Then what? Go read some books. You know how dramatically my communication skills increased when I started reading books about how to communicate, how to create friends, right? There's the old classic, How to Make Friends and Influence People. That's a good one. It's classic. There's a lot of modern books, right, that are spoken today's language that are really incredible books that will open up your eyes to simple things, easy things you can do to make friends and to feel comfortable having conversations and things to say and the way to be with people, how to read people. There's a lot of books about how to read people, and reading people helps you communicate with them better and make them feel comfortable and so on and so forth. There's a lot of books. So you got to decide, okay, if I'm bad at that skill, this is one skill you can't run away from. You can run away from like being like techie. You can run away from, certain lead generation sources, but you can't run away from talking to people and making them feel comfortable with you. Because if they don't feel comfortable with you, there's no business transaction that's going to happen. That's step one. Our job is to make our prospects feel comfortable with us. And that's number one. If we can't get there, there's going to be no listing appointment. There's going to be no closing. There's going to be no showings. There's none of that stuff. They're going to ghost you. They're going to not call you back. They're going to tell you they're not interested when they really are. Go find another agent. You're dead in the water because they don't feel comfortable. So you've got to get over that and develop your skill. Two ways. One, read books. Two, do it more.
What you said is just having an accurate assessment of reality to people, like you're in the communication business. So if you don't like that, it may not be the right business for you.
It's absolutely true.
What about, can somebody get to 100 deals just using social media?
Absolutely. 100%. Like I said, it doesn't matter what lead generation source you use, as long as you understand what the nucleus is. Okay. It's conversations. So when you use social media, you're like, number one, for me, it's a great brand builder. Okay. I want to use social media. I want to use email. I want to use all these different platforms to build my brand. But if you want to use also social media as a lead generation source, great. Use it as a lead generation source. And, you should be on there DMing people like crazy, just starting conversations, asking them how they're doing. What can you do to help them? So on and so forth, collecting their email, putting them in your database, getting the weekly email going. Use it to collect data and find out what you can do to help people. Same stuff. At the end of the day, you want to be collecting data and you want to use social media as a funnel to get to more conversations. So we're still going to be on the phone. It's just going to be talking to people that we met on social media that might be looking to do something or this or that or whatever. So you can absolutely, right? But not by posting generic content that you're paying some company to post once a day. That's the most generic, horrible thing I've ever seen that gets 2 likes, or just posting yourself. Maybe you're posting great content and you're posting yourself, but you're not really DMing. You're not really responding to comments. You're not really engaging with anyone. You're not really liking anybody else's content. You've got to engage with the people in your market's content and engage with them and send them messages and comment under their posts and respond to their comments and engage. So you can do it, but it's still going to be a lot more work than a lot of people want to make it out to be.
Well, I think what you're saying is just, even no matter what you do to generate the lead, you're still going to have to talk to them. And the better you are talking to people and the better you are at getting them to feel comfortable, that's really
exactly. You can't run away from that part of it.
Agree.
That part of it is always going to be the key factor. And the reason why we're not going anywhere is real estate agents. Even if you have one of these lead generation companies who say, oh, I'm going to get you all these Facebook leads. Great. They're going to go get you a bunch of Facebook leads, send it leads, and then you're going to have to sit in a dark room and call through that list one at a time until you get through them and ask and tell them who you are. They were looking on your site. They saw you on social media. Here I am. I'm a real person. What can I do to help you? What are you looking to do? what's your time frame? Why are you looking to do this? Let me get to know you a little better, see what I can do to help you.
Well, I think the good thing that you said that just do it more, because the conversations are very repetitive. Like a lot of the questions that we get as real estate agents are, hey, what's the market doing?
There's only like a handful of different outcomes, right? They're happy, they're busy, they want to do something, they don't want to do something, they have a realtor, they're mad, they hang up on you, they cuss you out. There's only like 10 different outcomes here. I mean, once you've made thousands of calls, you've seen every possible outcome there is. When I call a prospect now, I did live calls for the first time in years a couple months ago. And it was so fun. I was like, man, I need to do this more often. But when I got on the phone with people, it all came back to me. And as soon as they got on the phone and said hello, I literally knew exactly how that whole conversation was going to go, because I've made 100,000 calls. It's been several years since I've made calls, but it's like riding a bike. And I'm still talk to people every day. So like I still my communications, even though I hadn't made calls, my communication skills are still much higher than they were back when I was making calls. I knew exactly how that call was going to go because I've seen every little scenario. I can hear their voice. I know exactly. I can tell you if they're busy, if they're mad, if they're happy to hear from me.
You're scared.
I kind of knew exactly which direction I was going to go with the conversation, how it was going to end. So yeah, you just have to do it more.
So at some point you transitioned. So you said in 2017, you transitioned more into a mentorship role or like a coach role.
Well, no, listen, I still sell real estate. I'm still maintaining the same volume every year, but yeah, I decided I was going to take the time I used to spend building my business. See, I could still service my business and close the deals and help my clients. But then I had all this time on my hands that I was prospecting. I'm not doing anymore. And I got bored, and I'd always wanted to write a book. I always wanted to help agents. So I started writing. So I wrote 2 books really quickly. And then it just went from there. The books took off, started doing social media. I started coaching. I eventually became a free coach, started speaking all over the country and the world. I went to Brazil. It just kind of continued to grow little by little, and here we are, right? So
when you say a free coach, what does that mean? I've heard that a couple of times.
Like basically, man, like there's all these coaches that charge you, right? I don't charge you, right? So I have a complete course. I have complete trainings, everything that I do inside and out. There's no secrets about what I do. Everything is out there loud and clear. And I have zero intentions of ever charging anything for that content, charging for a boot camp, charging for a mastermind, charging for a course. I spent countless hours. I revise the course every year. I update it for the next year. I'm in the middle of doing it now for next year. And it's always free. It's always going to be free. And I also answer all my Instagram DMs. Every question that comes in, I answer. I spend a couple hours a day on that. I talk to agents, right? I spend countless hours on the phone with agents who have no intentions of anything that I'm doing in terms of joining the team or doing any of the products that I offer through different companies and this, that, and the other, whatever. No way to make money off of. They're not going to do anything. These are agents that aren't even haven't even sold anything yet. And I'm spending countless hours on these kind of agents, just trying to help them. I just started doing my own tour. I slowed it down because of the second wave of COVID, but I went to Miami. I did Salt Lake. I did Nashville. I did Charleston. I did Dallas. These were all free events for agents. Okay. 2 of them, I had 0 sponsors, and I paid for the whole thing, 5 or 10 grand a piece for those things. I turned off my YouTube ads that was making 6,000-7,000 a month, turned them off. I'm just steadily pouring time and money into agents. And I'm building a brand that will be a position, right? It's already a position where I'm growing these 8 and 9-figure businesses, right? On the back of the brand. Yeah. Right. It's a situation where everybody wins. Like I was telling you from the beginning, that's the business models of the future. Okay. Where you build brand, you help people, right? And then you can build businesses, but everybody wins. There's so many agents, man, so many agents, story after story after story after story of agents, thousands and thousands and thousands of stories of agents who were going to quit or were struggling. They found my stuff, they did my stuff, and now they're crushing it.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Well, I connected to it because I feel just like you that we are in a relationship-based business. And I also feel that the people that are the best communicators are the people that make it to the top as well, too. What I was going to ask you, at some point you transitioned or to EXP, right?
Yeah.
Okay. this is not an EXP show. I'm not pitching
Yeah.
EXP in any way, shape, or form. Why did you make that move, and what has your experience been working with them?
Well, I made the move because, like, I mean, once you really wrap your head around it,
Mhm.
it's a complete no-brainer from many, many different angles. And one reason why they're crushing it, like they just did their second quarter earnings report, 37 million net profit, which was like more than triple what ReMax did all of last year, more than what EXP did all of last year in just one quarter.
Yeah.
When you wrap your head around no debt, 100 million in the bank, when you wrap your head around what kind of company they are just on the business fundamental side, and then you say, okay, hold on, let me crack this open and see what's really inside here. And you realize what they've done is they've created a new breed of real estate agent who not only is out there selling, with a brokerage, but they also own the brokerage, right? It's a $7 billion company. The agents own $3 billion of that they gave the agents for nothing. The equity they gave the agents equates to $3 billion over this point. So agents are literally 50-50 partners in the company with the corporation and the COA and the founders and stuff. That was their vision the whole time. Let's make agents, they're the ones helping us build the company. Let's make them a 50-50 partner, right? So we can really build something massive together. And that's what they've accomplished. When you look at the big picture of what they're doing, they're at 65,000 agents headed to 1 million. When you look at the platform they built for just a regular agent, just a regular Joe agent to come in and acquire equity in this incredibly fast growing, like what the stock is right now is going to seem like pennies compared to where they're going to be. And to just allow agents to partake in that incredible run and evaluation that they're going to have, is just an incredible opportunity for agents, but also that sets them up with a nest egg for the future. And then you can use the platform to literally build your team nationally.
Yeah.
Right. And like for a broker, you've got to get a franchise or start your own independent. Right. Once you do that, you've got to fill that office up with local agents, only local, can't go outside your local area, hoping that you break even every month and have tons of liability and compliance issues and getting audited by the state, expenses, insurance. This allows you to have all the good parts of being a broker
Without it.
right? All the good parts with zero liability, zero expenses, zero headaches, zero compliance issues. And you're able to expand nationally immediately for no money. And then those agents, you change their lives because now they own part of this incredible company, but also they have a huge incentive to go out and help you continue to grow your team. And that's where things get really crazy. If you, I was telling my dad about it, cause he's with me. I'm like, Dad, listen, you got to really start hitting this harder. Right. Right. You got to start building your team harder. Because right now you're selling real estate hard. And I said, every sale you make, you got to go out there and work your ass off, and then you go out there when it's closed and go work your ass off again and again and again. I said, listen, I want you to be in a position where you make one sale and you get paid on that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And if you can stack up enough of those, you're done. If you go out and list 40 properties this year, you got to work for the rest of your life, right? You go out and bring on 40 agents, you're done. Right. 40 turns into 100 next year. Then you're at 300 the next year. Now you're at 1,000. Now you're at 3,000. It's going to double every year. And now you literally, what they've done is they've created a platform where you can literally be Gary Keller without the headache that he had to go through. You can be Dave Liniger. You can be Adam Contos. You can be all these guys there at the top. Right. And they got all the agents at the bottom. And the agents are just paying. I was the number one ReMax agent in Alabama. I got a trophy, right? I come to EXP, the first year with EXP, 300 more thousand than I made with ReMax that year before.
Yeah.
Right. 200 in cash and 100 in stocks.
It was funny because I got the Icon Award this year. It was my first year with EXP. And it was interesting because I remember like at my previous company, it was a pat on the back. And here I actually got stock in the company. So great. Ricky, last thing, if people wanted to get a hold of you, if they wanted to get some of the free training that you have, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Instagram's the best place to communicate. 0 to diamond.com is my coaching platform.
Mhm.
So feel free to go there. Not trying to sell you anything there, just trying to help you, give you good content. But Instagram's the best place to reach out and say hi or ask questions. And I do welcome those DMs. If you guys have anything that I can do to help you, feel free to reach out.
I love it, man. And is there any final thoughts for the viewers?
Just quit making excuses and just go do what you know you need to do. You know what you need to do. You're just not doing it because you're lying to yourself about people don't want to do business with you because you're new, or you're just too scared to make calls, or whatever your little excuse is that makes zero sense to me. Just eliminate that from your life in 2022, right? Take control of your life in 2022 and just put that work in and plant those seeds.
All right. This was episode number 79. We had Ricky Carruth, mentor, coach, real superstar real estate agent. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And thank you for making an impact in the real estate community.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it.